Hello lovelies, here is the part number 2, spirituality and business interview with Shanah. Before we talked about actually how to recognize signs of spiritual guides talking to you, and now we'd love to know how is that what we use for our business development, like how can we use spirits for our business growth, business development, having more clients, knowing the direction of your business. How is that working for you?
Absolutely. So I think there's two main ways. One is just, again, being very present in the moment. So for example, in a meeting, you might have an idea that you want to share, but you might take a pause before and see if the conversation opens up. And if someone looks at you, that's when I know it's my time to speak.
Okay.
Even in a room of large people, I'll go, oh, is it time to say this? Is this the right thing to say at this point? And I'll stop, and the whole room will turn and look at me without even, and I'll say, oh, I have something, and I'll share it. Other times I'll go to say something and 3 people will talk at the same time, and I'm like, that is not the right direction. So just watching what's happening in the moment. So even you and I were sitting over there, and we got interrupted, and we had to move locations. And because of that, it reminded me to say this, which I wasn't going to say. And it's a really important piece of it. So everything happens for a reason. Is one main thing. And then the second way is to lead by asking questions more than driving for answers.
What do you mean?
Okay, so let's say I know that we need to hire 5 people. Instead of going, I'm going to go look through all these resumes, you can really sit down and get reflective. What do these 5 people need to look like, feel like? What qualities do they need to have? What would it feel like working with them, etc.?
Visualizing your future team.
And
basically.
I call it future programming. Visualize yourself and feel yourself meeting them and hiring them, and how good it would feel to have them around, and then watch for signs. So then the next day you might have 3 people mention a certain newspaper. Go look at it and see who's promoting themselves on there. They might introduce you to a person. It's going to come through all sorts of different ways. There's no right or wrong about how things come, but once you future program, then the universe almost reverse engineers to bring you to that thing that you want, which might be lessons that you need to clear. It might be people you need to meet, you don't quite know, but you just hold the question, but then be really responsive to the flow to see which way you need to go to get the answer to that question. That makes sense?
Yeah, it's totally interesting. So what is the yummy thing that is coming into your life, and what is that's actually you feel so much excited about?
Well, I am being asked every day to be interviewed for the first time. It's happened this week. I've had 6 requests.
Oh, wow. That's nice.
Yeah, and I also had 3 people text me and say, I see you writing a book or doing a podcast. So I think all of a sudden, 8 months ago, I sort of slowly started my 100 clients that I was working with, just let them know, what I've been doing one-on-one with you that's been successful. Somehow Spirit's calling me to do it on a larger scale, and I don't know what that looks like or feels like, but I just know that we're not going to be doing one-on-one anymore, so let's transition out of each other's depth. Wonderful. All of those people became friends, so now we get to be friends instead of colleagues or mentors.
Oh, nice.
I know, because they all know how I work, and we got to know each other really well through the process and trust each other and love each other. This work is all love. All love. It's running business from love, hiring from love, creating from love. It's all love. So now I get to be friends with everyone that I was working with before. And now all of a sudden in the last week, I feel like Spirit is now calling in the books, podcasts, videos, interviews, whatever platform it's going to be. So that's what's yummy. I can't wait to see what happens.
Yeah, you say Spirit is calling. Like how to recognize this calling of a spirit?
That in 1 week, 6 people asked me for interviews, and 3 people texted me from different parts of the world saying that they had a dream or a thought about me writing a book or doing a podcast. And just all of a sudden, it's just really alive in the field with lots of little moments and signs telling me. So it's time.
Nice.
I know. And right after this, I have a call with a publisher.
Oh,
a friend reached out and was like, I think you should talk to this person. And then I reached out and they want to. So
what is your book about?
I think I'm about to find out. But I think it's about a lot what we're talking about. I mean, I think it's rare to have someone devote themselves so scientifically for 20 years to actually guide every moment of their life with guidance in order to figure out how it works, and then have success in running multiple businesses, exiting a business, getting a PhD, being a professor, running a physical brick and mortar business. Like, all of those successes came from me using intuition and then helping 100 very high level people do the same. I think that's just a lot of wisdom eggs I'm sitting on, and I'm looking to birth.
Wow, that's lovely. What do you see life means for you?
Love, expression, joy, meaning, dance, singing, nature, meditation, dear friends, intimate love. Yeah, all of those things.
That's beautiful. So, where and how could people find more about you?
Oh, sure. I have a website, www.CLI-Solutions. So CLI stands for Conscious Leadership Institute. That's my company. So then it's .solutions.
Conscious Leadership
Institute. CLI.solutions.
What do you guys do in Conscious Leadership Institute?
Lots of research. I research what makes people feel confident in their intuition, what do they need to use it, what type of strategies and exercises can they use to develop it and apply it. Then I also do the consulting, so help a lot with strategy. For example, like I was saying before, I'm hired a lot to facilitate, and in the facilitation I can say, actually this person needs to speak to this, here's the question that's most alive in the field right now, these two people need to answer it and talk about their childhood in reference to it because it's poignant to where we need to go. The strategy you're talking about is hurting my heart, it's not quite right, let's keep talking about it till it feels right.
What is a conscious leadership?
So to me, the way I define
or what
conscious...
is like conscious or unconscious?
Yes.
Like what is the unconscious leadership?
Yeah, because you can be like conscious
leadership?
mother, conscious person, conscious everything.
Yeah.
To me, the way I define conscious in my latest book is any awareness that you have to be reflective and to look past societal and personal conditioning to get an idea of what your true position and belief is about something. So it's kind of peeling back the layers to know who you are and what you really think. And the guidance helps you do that. They'll say, oh, you think you're supposed to be at IBM for the rest of your life working as an engineer, but we're going to introduce another idea to you. And then I get reflective beyond my conditioning and beyond what's been normalized for me and I thought was the only way. And then I get to what's true, what's highest for me, what's most authentic. So a conscious leader takes a pause before they speak, they take a pause before they act. They are reflective, they're intuitive, they're working with spirit to guide the path forward rather than just driving towards, in business they call them KPIs, key performance indicators. I go with KDIs, key divine indicators.
Key divine indicators, what are those?
So a KPI might be, I need to, I had a client that she's like, my personal KPI is to make $500,000 a year. And I said, I actually get that you're supposed to be making $350,000 a year. And she's like, that's what I make. And I said, great. So you're where you're supposed to be. Why are you striving for that number? Well, other people that, are making that kind of money. And I'm like, are they working more and harder than you? And she's like, yes. And I'm like, do you want to work more and harder? Do you need that money? What would you accomplish with that money that you don't have with the money you do have? She's like, I can't come up with one thing. And I said, so that's an external KPI. Use your KDI. And your KDI is telling you that you're supposed to be making $350 and doing the amount of work and having the amount of spaciousness for self-love and self-care and expression and painting from the extra time you have from not making that extra money that you don't actually need.
So it's like actually becoming conscious about like what do you need, how much do you need, and bring actually quality of life into that, let's say, life engineering, right?
Yes. And I would say the most difficult thing of using this intuitive gift in very normal roles like a CEO or a director of a nonprofit or a professor, all of which I've done, is trying to explain to people when my intuition is telling me something so strongly and I know to listen to it, but how to explain to them. And so, it's a lot of guidance of actually getting people to reconfigure their teams and their employment and who they hire with other intuitives so they can work on the same page and everyone can be aligned with KDIs, key divine indicators. And then there's the sweet spot in between where you can say to people, people understand in business that people have a killer instinct. They can just be like, I led the last company. I had a sales job and I was the top person in the country, 15 years ago or 20 years ago. And the next sales job, I said to them, all I need for this sales job is that you don't look over my shoulder, you don't follow me, you let me just achieve the numbers you want me to achieve. I'll get 25% or 50% higher than the goals you give me, the numbers you give me. And if I do so, I just want no one watching how I do things because I do things very differently, but you can tell by my last job I'm a ringer. And I said, either that works for you and I'll do this, or it doesn't work for you and that's fine. And they called me back and they said, okay, we're going to hire you. And I worked for them for 2 years, and I had the highest sales in the country again by 50%, 20 to 50%. And they sometimes ask me how, and I said, remember how we're not going to talk about that? Like, I could tell you, but you won't understand it. And it was just intuition, and I wanted to purely use intuition to manage a sales region and see if I could accomplish what takes other people 40, 80 hours in a week to accomplish. I accomplished in 5 hours.
Wow.
So I worked those 2 years with the highest numbers in the country, working 5 hours a week.
Impressive.
Yes.
Sounds like magic.
It's a magic that everyone has if they trust it, but they need examples. That's why I'm glad you're putting this out, because they need examples and precedents. Like, oh, she actually did that. I can actually look at her numbers and see that kind of track record.
What are the best techniques to trust your intuition?
Oh, practice. Practice in very benign situations. So, for example, I had one client, and I was like, what I get is that one of your strong intuitive gifts, because everyone has different ones, is that you can actually know something before it happens. You're going to know what it looks like, feels like, but you just think it's kind of a hunch around it, but actually it's true information, but you don't realize that because
you don't accept it as information.
And she gets it for 6 or 8 months out, and by the time it happens, she forgets she knows before. I said, so what your guides are telling me is that you need to think of something that's 3 to 5 days in advance, and that you know nothing about, and that's not that important, so it's not emotionally charged. The biggest thing that blocks intuition is emotional charge.
Oh, tell me more about emotional charge and how to deal with that, with this emotional charge.
That's where mindfulness and relaxation and meditation and deep belly breathing works. The best thing you can do in a meeting is take a big breath into your belly. It actually activates, most of the serotonin in your body is in your gut, and then it sends a message up the vagus nerve to your relaxed nervous system and calms your whole body. And breathing out longer than in, like a few breaths in, but a longer breath out also activates the relaxed body. So there's a bunch to be said about getting into a relaxed, receptive state where you're not charged. That's where intuition has a place to flourish. When you start to feel, you start to get in the way. So that's why I say, don't try to practice your intuition when you're making $1 million choice. That's not the place to practice. They say in intense situations, we don't rise to our best, we fall to our training.
To the conditioning.
Yes, to what we've trained ourselves to be able to do. So I'm able to do readings for people because I've worked on it for 20 years. Everyone, I truly believe everyone that practiced to the level that I practiced could do the same. I just made it my full-time thing. So here's an example of what I said to her. Your guides are saying, think of something 3 to 5 days from now. And she was like, okay. And I said, I get lots of information. So I said, I get that you're going to a son's birthday party, like not your son, but he has a friend and you're going to his birthday party. And he said, yes. So I said, you don't know the mother or the father of this child, right? And you know the child. And she said, yes. And I said, why don't you imagine everything you can imagine about the father and about the mother, everything you could possibly imagine, let it come through. Just sit back and just any ideas or smells or feelings or visuals that you possibly get around it. So, and I said, then remember all of it, write it down if you have to, and then go to the party and see how accurate you were. So she came back to me and said, I imagined the mother to be very dominating, which was very weird because the son was so calm. But I imagine this very hovering mother, and I imagine the man being very sort of aloof, very aloof. And so she's like, I don't know why I came up with that, but I went with it. And she's like, they were exactly what I thought. They were exactly those two people. And I said, great, so keep practicing that. Then when you get a client, you might go, oh, this client has all the right credentials and they're telling me all the right things and they can afford to pay, but I can see that we're going to have a hard time together. So I'm going to actually not take on that client. You can start to use it. So she did. And then she's like, wow, now I pick all my clients easily and perfectly. I don't get into weird client relationships with people that are non-resident. She's like, now I just know how to tune in before it happens and know the type of dynamic we're going to have. And so that was one of her gifts, for example.
Wow. So basically, you can really manifest your clients by tuning in and imagining them being certain ways and attracting it this way, or?
Yes. When she understood the type of client she resonated with and realized that she was accepting those that she didn't resonate with and had permission to not connect with them because they weren't her tribe, and know that it's okay to only connect with those. So it's a lot of leadership consulting that's a bit status quo, which is like aligning with your right demographic. There's I've done a lot of traditional things, so I can draw from that as well. Then you fit the intuition into it. So first, it's just knowing that you're allowed to meet with only those you're supposed to meet with, no more, no less. You're not meant to be everything to everyone. You're meant to be you for the person that perfectly needs you.
Yeah. What is about science and spirituality?
Yeah.
What is the link between science and spirituality for you?
That everything's an experiment. I use the scientific method to test and make sure that things are repeatable. So she did that once, she did it twice. Scientific, anything that's science is something that's repeatable. So you can do the same experiment and get the same results. And after she practiced and got the confidence that it was true, that it was science, that it was repeatable, then she could use it scientifically in the ways that she needed to guide her business.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So I'm always designing experiments. I'm like, oh, under what circumstances does that work? Okay, does that always work? And other experiments I've had people do is I told them, tell me a time that you, tell me about the first boy that broke my heart. So this woman knew me, but she didn't know which first boy broke my heart, but it had to be a past experience where it had some emotional charge around it.
Yeah.
She closed her eyes and she's like, I see a ball, I see a door slamming, there's a feeling of betrayal, you're wearing a pink dress. And I was like, okay. So then after, she's like, what was it? And I said, so he broke up with me because he said he wanted to play football. There's the ball. And the betrayal was, how could you pick football over me? And I ran down the hallway and ran into the girls' locker room and slammed the door. And he opened the door and came into the girls' locker room with everyone changing and everyone screamed. So that slammed door was a big moment. But I wasn't wearing a pink dress. So I said, now you know that feelings you have, visuals you have, but not colors, are trustworthy. And do it a few more times and see if you always get colors wrong. I often get gender wrong. Colors, those types of things I don't get right very often. The dynamics, the feelings, the meaning are pretty accurate. Yeah, like this person creates a big feeling of intensity in you, and they do it with knowing they're doing it. Like that kind of detail I get. And I also get numbers, like very accurately, like you're meant to be making this much money, or you need $500,000 to expand your business and the bank is only giving you $50,000 and you've stopped trying, but you never showed them the number from the very successful business you had. You need to bring those numbers to the bank. And she's like, you're right. So like I get numbers, and so it's very rare to get numbers. I've been told that 1 in 1,000 can even see a number at all, let alone use them in business. So
probably all your sales
yeah, and I'm an engineer. I'm an engineer. I've studied math and physics very deeply.
Oh, yeah, probably.
Before this gift opened, I was a physicist and a mathematician by far. So.
Wow.
I know.
That's so cool that you combine actually these two things. So it's so incredible.
Yeah.
So incredible. What is your message that you would love to share with the whole world? What should be people start doing more and stop doing less?
Yeah, sure. I've never thought of this, what I'm about to say, but, there's this whole biohacking thing right now where everyone's using their own experiments to figure out what their body needs. Do spirit hacking.
What is spirit hacking?
I'm just making it up right now, but it's the idea that you would start experimenting, asking a question and then asking for signs and seeing how those signs come to you. Do you hear a song? Do you watch a movie? Does someone have words? Did the same people say the same thing to you repeatedly?
Do you see something on the streets and it exactly has the message for
you?
Yeah.
You turn the corner and someone goes, I don't know why I feel like doing this, but I'm giving you my card. And on their card it says the place or the thing or the answer. Just start to notice and pay attention. And have a buddy with it. I think it's always nice to not feel alone and weird. Yeah. So if there's one other person that wants to go on the experimental journey with you, it's nice if you start that journey with someone and you do discovery together, because otherwise you're discovering and you're like, I feel so alone in this. So I would say find a buddy in it. And then the other thing is to start experimenting. Like, what information can you get about past experiences that were charged or future things that are going to happen? And how much information can you get that's accurate, and do it in very unimportant arenas to just start to get the idea of what you're capable of doing and not, and then start to try to practice it in more important realms, like making a business decision or
something that came out for me like so juicy is now, how do you differentiate the fear voice from intuition voice? Because I see a lot of people like, I'm still waiting for the sign and I feel I'm not ready for that because I haven't seen any signs there that I can trust. And
that's
and
a really
I'm
good
not
point.
taking any action because like the moon needs to come to that blah blah planet and whatever.
Yes. Okay.
What is your opinion on that? Like how to deal with that situation?
A few things. So first of all, there's a lot of information in the body. So do my shoulders collapse? Do I feel heavy? Do I feel a weight on me? Or do I feel expansive? Do I feel like when I'm saying, oh, like it's what I want to do you feel afraid when you talk about it? Do you know, that sort of thing? So feeling in your body, whether you feel expansive or whether you feel like collapsing, is one thing. The second thing is actually setting the intention the night before you go to bed and saying, okay, I've been sitting on this book idea for a long time. I don't know if it's time or not. I don't know if I'm afraid, or I don't know if I'd be pushing if I went forward right now. I don't want to push, but I also don't want to shirk my purpose. So I don't know. So tomorrow, give me a clear sign whether I'm to write this book or not. Like, give me signs around books. Let me recognize the sign. Let me know what to do as my next step, and do so with ease and grace.
Yeah, so you're kind of actually giving the spirit the very clear instructions on like what's going to be happening, how it's going to be happening, and what will be going around, right?
Yes. Yep. So, and then if it doesn't show up, I'm like, it's not time. I'm not fearful. I'm not procrastinating. It's just not time because I'm not getting any signs around it.
That means like there is no time to act.
Yeah. There is times not to act and just let it sit and let it take its time. And then say, you know, also like if there's anything I'm doing to block this movement forward, and there's something I should be doing around the blocks towards it, let me know and see if signs show up around that. So you're either working on the blocks towards it, or it's just not time, or it shows up ready to go. There's only 3 possibilities.
1, 2, 3. Either there is no, you can move forward, or there is a sign, or
it's either not time to act, or it is time to act, or you have to work on the blocks standing between you and acting.
And how do you usually work on those blocks? What is the
I get signs. So like, I mean, I've been wanting to meet my partner for a long time, and it just never happens. That's the one that eludes me still. And so this week I said, please show me whatever I'm blocking between me and meeting him. Like, I used to spend time about what he looks like and feels like and what life would look like and feel like with him, and then that has never worked. So then finally I was like, well, what am I? Like, what's off with me? I mean, I've always been working on myself to make sure that I could meet that partner.
Yeah.
But I was like, what's off with me? And the next day I ended up having a really sweet moment with someone that reminded me of my best friend in high school. And it was so beautiful and sweet and it reminded me so purely of how her and I used to be for those years, that I had a huge cry and realized that deep in my heart I'd been holding the intimate space for her.
Oh.
And I cried, remembering how beautiful it is. We're still best friends, and we live in different worlds, but we are still super connected. And I just had to realize, like, I have believed I'll never have an intimacy like that again, because it was so pure and lovely and sweet, and we were so young.
Yeah.
And when I cried and let that go, I knew that was blocking me meeting my partner. So I had to work on the block. I didn't get to meet him. It wasn't not time. There was this block to work on, and it showed up.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
So basically, like you've been held on something. What was so important for you, and this why
It
that
created a
been
belief.
blocking. Yeah.
It created a belief that I've already
been
had the best
blocking.
intimacy I've ever
Yeah.
gonna have. Yeah. And I couldn't have ever known that. So you can say, show me whether it's time, whether it's not time, or whether there's a block I need to work on.
Wow, that is interesting. Wow. So what would you like to see more of this?
Yeah.
In this world.
I would like, so I dream, like the way that there's gay pride parade, I believe in like this spiritual gift parade where everyone's open about their clairvoyance and their clairaudience, and that they see angels and that they hear spirits and they dream of ancestors and they've used the information and it's accurate and productive and helpful. I would just like that to be part of daily conversation. I would like parents talking with their children about it. I'd like it in schools. I worked with intuition with all of my classes at the university level, and everyone thrived in it. We close our eyes and envision things for projects, and I think there just needs to be a ton of this out there, and it needs to be normalized. We can't suppress our gifts anymore. And it's like singing. We all can sing. Some of us naturally do it really easily. Some of us will never be amazing at it, but all of us that practice will get better at it.
Yeah.
And why are we not using everything we have to make a happier life? So many people are unhappy and suffering when they could be using these gifts to navigate a more simple, clean, efficient path forward, and actually find their purpose too. A lot of people's purpose is wrapped up in opening these gifts, but they won't open them.
Yeah. Do you feel something about actually full moons and ascension, like that something like it's changing because of that moon signs, or the universe that is moving now into different dimensions. Do you feel something of that? Like
Yeah.
how your gifts are changing, how intensity of the energy is changing?
Yes, I mean, I have to say I do. Unfortunately, I kind of, as a scientist, I wish I didn't, and I wish I did. I mean,
What do you mean?
well, okay, so I believe as a scientist, we are part of this huge universe, and as a physicist, I know it's
Yeah.
affecting us in gravity, it's affecting us in all sorts of ways. So, of course, it's affecting us. I guess I don't want to believe that some sort of external energy that's out of my control has that much influence on my choices and the way I work. And yet I cannot deny that, like, my mom had a Montessori school in my house when I was growing up, and every full moon all the children would be berserk, and I saw it every month for the 10 years I watched this. And so the children, they're affected. I can't deny that they're affected. And for
And
me,
grown-ups?
and grown-ups also, you ask anyone that does the type of work I get, you get way more phone calls and way more during a full moon and during certain astrological things that happen. Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah, so no, it's very true. And, you know, I have breakthrough insights on full moons, and I go with the seasons of the year even. So for the winter, I like to be very internal, very reflective, writing poetry, painting, not going out much. In the spring, I start to blossom more, start to interconnect a little bit more. In the summer, I just go from party to party, out, like, you know, experience to experience. And then in the fall, I start to take all of those experiences and turn them into seeds. So I use my whole life along with the natural seasons because we're animals. We are nature. So I go with the cycles of nature, and I go with the cycles of the moon too. I definitely set intentions on new moons. I wait for the big happening, and I'm observant during the full moon. So the scientist in me doesn't like it. The woman in me likes it a lot. You know, I likes it a lot.
How do you bring these two things together?
Yeah, I think I have actually. I think that instead of thinking of them as something external that's controlling me, they're it's like saying I don't want waves to come that crash over me. Grab your surfboard and surf them. Like
That is a good way.
yeah,
Wow.
I think so. Yeah, work with them. Work with them. Don't let them control you. Don't be bowled over by them. Find a way to work with them.
So the last thing that you would like to say about your wishes for yourself for the future, what would you like to ask spirits to deliver to you?
I would love to be with my king. I really look forward to that merger. I think it's going to be really juicy and lovely and productive and purposeful. Lots of beautiful things. So I look forward to that. And
Which recommendation would you give to yourself to get to that king?
Exactly what I said before. I just ask for any lessons that I need to go through, like anything I need to learn that stands between me and that. I feel fully confident he exists. I feel fully confident we're going to meet, and I feel confident in divine timing. But if there's anything I'm supposed to be doing in the meantime, just show me what it is. And every day I've had something. So I feel like there's layers, and it could be years, it could be whatever. There's no urgency around it, but I hold it as a very exciting thing to strive towards. And
do you know how he's gonna look like?
No.
Do you feel that?
No,
You have so many gifts.
I know.
Why is it the way, like, you know, when we like have those gifts, we cannot see anything about ourselves?
Oh, we're only supposed to see what we're supposed to see, though. Like, I mean, I can't see everything in a reading. I see what you need to know now to move forward. Yeah. So I know what he looks like and feels like in a way. Like, I know the feeling. I've had the feeling since I was 5, actually.
Wow.
I've had the feeling about this man since I was 5, and it's never changed. So I've always known he's coming. And I just have to have the experiences between now and then that I'm supposed to have to meet him. And it feels joyful, actually. Like, I love that I had that cleansing heart thing about my friend. I love that every day I have a lesson similar to that are just so beyond what I could come up with. And I'm like, oh yeah, I had to let that go. Oh, that's true, I didn't know. Yeah, so I'm fine with all of
beautiful.
Yeah. I can't imagine he's not doing the same, and then we're gonna come together. It's gonna be awesome, and yeah, it's going to be super cool, I think.
Aww.
So that's exciting. And then the other thing is I really have devoted my purpose to helping the world normalize what's become normal for me.
Yeah.
I just want it normalized because I'm so tired of seeing people unnecessarily suffer by not listening and not hearing and not getting all the support that's available to them just in like moment to moment life.
Yeah.
And then in terms of our leaders, like we need our leaders using all their faculties to lead us. Like we're in trouble. Like, when I was born, if you counted all the animals, now there would be 60% less animals.
Wow.
We only have 40% of the animals in existence in the count. Like, half of the fish are gone, 80% of the butterflies. Like, people are unhappy. All of this business is thriving, yet people are not thriving. Everything is not working right. And if each person in a power position wakes up and tries to steer their ship in a new direction, power can happen.
Which direction could
Towards
that
bettering people on the planet. Towards serving people, increasing love, increasing happiness, increasing freedom, and regenerating the planet. Every move we make should go in that direction.
Wow.
And we all have that capacity within our own roles. I mean, I know one woman who woke up in her sort of investment banker position and was able to create a fund of almost £600 million in the UK to put just towards social and environmental projects.
Wow.
So that person woke up and did that with her power.
Wow.
So what if you woke up and
beautiful.
have that power as a mother and you raised the children that are then the future leaders? What if you wake up as a teacher in that way? What if you wake up as a police officer and start, treating people differently, and like you have some sort of say over the financial system or over the criminal system? So if each person just knew that they could do within their own role more purposeful things that serve people and planet, I think we'd be going in a much better direction. So that's what I stand for.
Beautiful. Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you
my
so
pleasure.
much.
Super fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna stay in touch, and
Yeah.
let's see if we're gonna record another episode on things that been curious for us. And if you have any questions, you know who to contact. And see you soon.
Thank you.
Aloha.
Aloha.